Okay, so in review, we have Whitney Hansen. It took her over 2 years to finally find out that her podcast was going to get the amount of people that made it worth it. But now she has sponsorships in addition to driving more leads to her personal coaching. The biggest suggestion that she has is find a unique angle and find a niche down audience so that you can speak to them and bring a true perspective. And even in a saturated market, you can still have a successful podcast after many years. Hi, I'm Ryan Vasso with the Venture College, a program within the College of Innovation Design at Boise State. The Venture College helps students and community members launch their ideas beyond the classroom and turn those ideas into startups, lifestyle businesses, side hustles, and other ventures. With the COVID-19 situation, we know that more and more people in our community and throughout Idaho, beyond just students, will be looking for ways to generate extra income. That's why we've started the Side Hustle series. We will be talking to successful entrepreneurs about starting and growing side hustles that can be done from just about anywhere in the world. If you're interested in learning more or need some help, contact us at venturecollege@boisestate.edu or go to our website to learn more. Also, watch out for our social media accounts for the next installments of the Side Hustle series. All right, everyone. I'm here with Whitney Hansen, part of WhitneyHansen.com, and she also has her own podcast, The Money Nerds. And Whitney just passed over 1 million downloads. Is that correct for The Money Nerds?
That's correct, man. Celebrating still.
All right, walk me through, how did you get into the podcasting game?
Yeah, so podcasting for me came from hearing a lot of really cool stories of what people were doing to pay off debt and get some side hustles and start businesses and just better their financial lives. And I wanted to share those stories. And the best medium that I found was podcasting. At that time, there wasn't a ton of people sharing real life people's stories. It was more all of the experts and these people that you read about, but not the people in the trenches. And so that's why I started the podcast, was just to inspire people with everyday stories.
Okay, but just to clarify, was there a financial aspect of it as well, or was it more of a goodwill? Was there underlying, I want to get more clients? Is a technique for it?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. I'd say mostly it was a goodwill effort. And then I know with goodwill, it does eventually lead to monetization if you're smart about it. So I knew there was a way to make money off of it through coaching clients. So that's kind of how I monetized it.
Yeah, how long, from the time you launched your first episode, how long did it take you to be okay, I think I could actually, this is worth it, or I could get revenue eventually from this?
Ooh, people are not going to like this. It took 2 years.
2 years.
2 years. 2 years for it to actually start to gain some traction. So at first there were people listening, but it wasn't a ton of people. And so it was really that first year and a half, I actually thought about quitting maybe every single month. No joke.
Why didn't you?
Because I know that it's a long-term game. I think if you're going to start a podcast, you have to go in with the terms of this is going to be for at least 3 years. If you're trying to just do it for a year and you're expecting phenomenal results, you're probably going to be disappointed.
Okay. And what results are you measuring off of? At the 2-year mark, what results was it okay, this is going to work?
There were a couple things that I was looking at. First and foremost, it was downloads. That's the best number you can look at to see, is your show actually growing? Do people actually care? Now, you don't necessarily see how many subscribers you have. The data is a little bit weak in that area. So you can't see how many subscribers specifically. So you really do have to go off the downloads. And then after you see the downloads are growing every single month, you know that you're on to something. The second metric that I would look for personally is it actually changing people's lives? Is it helping people? How you know that is people will reach out to you. They'll say, hey, I love your show. It's really helped me pay off debt. Or, hey, I love this show. It really spoke to me about this, this, and this. So I think it's the engagement piece, and then the downloads is the best thing you can do to see if you're being successful.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So revenue-wise, I assume, you're going to take some of the clients that listen to you and they'll become actual personal coaching clients. Yeah. Is there an advertising side that you've explored as well, or what other revenue options do you have?
Yeah, there's a lot of different options. So the revenue models that I have personally used is, yes, coaching clients one-on-one working with me. That's an easy one to measure because on the application, they can tell you, how'd you find out about me? It was from the podcast. So that's a really easy one. The second way to make money off a podcast is sponsorships. Sponsorships are the best because it's usually working with brands that you know, like, and trust already, and you're just promoting the brand and telling people why you like the brand, and that you get paid for that. So it's pretty sweet. You do have to have a lot of downloads for that. So that's the caveat there.
Yeah. Walk us through, how'd you get your first or second sponsorships? How'd that work?
So the first sponsorship, they actually came to me, and so that's not super repeatable, so I apologize for that.
That's
But
okay. Like they
it
just
really
emailed you,
was.
or how'd it work?
Yeah, they emailed me. It was a product that I was already familiar with,
Okay.
and it was a financial tech company, and so
Yep.
it was one that it was a good fit.
Yep.
Don't sell out your show. If you have people that are approaching you and it's not a good fit or it's not a product you would personally use, don't take that money. Like, don't sell out. Your audience will really, they'll recognize that and they'll really distrust you. So
Okay.
that's the other important piece with podcasts.
Okay. So after the like, has it always been inbound requests, or did you eventually start doing outbound and saying like, hey, would you like to sponsor the show?
Yep. So what I did is I did a lot of outbound requests for quite some time where I was legitimately reaching out to 5 different companies per day that I already use. And what I found is that that was okay. It was an all right system for me. But until your show grows more, you probably are going to make more money by monetizing your own services and your own products.
Okay.
So I found that it was a better return for me to put all of that attention into sponsoring my own show through my own products, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. When you were reaching out, to XYZ companies, what kind of questions were they asking you to kind of qualify you?
The first question they always ask is, what is your show reach? How many downloads do you receive? And then the second piece that they want to know is, what is the weekly download? So within 30 days of one episode, track that episode for 30 days. How many downloads do you have? Typically, sponsorships want to see about 10,000 downloads within 30 days. And if you don't have that, they can still work with you, but it's a little bit harder to get them to say yes.
So when I listen to podcasts, like sometimes I'll like download it actually on my phone, and then sometimes I just like stream it.
Yeah.
Is it, in your world, like what does the download actually consist of? Is it means like it actually download on my phone, or I just listen to it somehow?
Usually it's download on your phone. It depends on the data that you're looking at, but typically that's what a download would be. You listen to it through your phone, through your podcast app. That's considered a download.
Okay, that makes sense. What tools do you use to kind of manage your podcasting?
So I have a few different ones. The first one is the hosting software that you need to use. And so the one I recommend is Libsyn. I don't use Libsyn. I use SoundCloud.
Okay.
At that time, it was a little bit less expensive when I was just testing the water. So
Like
hosting,
pricing wise, what are we talking?
like $15 per month.
Okay.
So it's really not much. Either way, they're about the same price now. And so you can do Libsyn or SoundCloud, I think are fine. And then in addition to that, you do have to have a website where you host all of your show notes and all of your content. And so I use WordPress for that. But literally, like this microphone, ATR 2100, it's Audio Technica, the best. It's like $50. It plugs into a USB. It's portable. It sounds great. It's a really good option for starter podcasts. That's pretty much it.
For podcasting, do you do the video stuff as well, or just audio?
No, I've done some video in the form of like wavelengths or audiograms where it's like you see the lines when people talk and it goes with the music.
Yeah.
That I use, it's called wave.co, WAVVE.co.
Okay.
And that one is really great for that stuff too. You can create really fun little images.
Cool. Okay, so if I was looking to start a podcast, it just seems like it's a pretty saturated market now compared to maybe when you started. Any suggestions or tips on like, I just want to start a podcast now, other than just stay in the game for 2+ years? What other suggestions do you have?
Okay, yeah, you're right. Consistency is everything. You really have to stay consistent with podcasting. And I would say if you have a unique angle or a different take on something that's already talked about, podcasting is a great realm. Like, yes, it is more saturated, but I heard the same thing when I first started my podcast too, was everyone was saying, oh, everyone's doing it. It's saturated. It's not worth it. You're always going to hear that message. So it's up to you to find a way to differentiate yourself. And I think the best way is if you have interesting content or you have a unique perspective on something, that's awesome. The other focus is if you niche down, that's going to help you get at least a small audience to begin with. The only thing about podcasting is if you do niche down, don't go so niche that you only speak to a very small segment of people. You want to be somewhat broad, but fairly niche. Like mine is money. So money is fairly niche, but yeah, like if you were to go very, very niche, it can be a bad thing sometimes.
That makes sense. So, I mean, if you were to describe your podcast to people, so money, but like what other audiences have you niched down to that you feel like you really have like a good solid base with?
Yep. So the niches that I focus on are financial independence. This is a huge community. People really want to be involved with it. So financial independence, paying down debt, investing, and side hustles. Those are my 4 niches. So if it fits in one of those little categories, I talk about it on my podcast.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so in review, we have Whitney Hansen. It took her over 2 years to finally find out that her podcast was going to get the amount of people that made it worth it. But now she has sponsorships in addition to driving more leads to her personal coaching. The biggest suggestion that she has is find a unique angle and find a niche down audience so that you can speak to them and bring a true perspective. And even in a saturated market, you can still have a successful podcast after many years. Thanks for listening. While you're waiting for the next episode, feel free to contact us or follow us on social media.